Seeing this movie and comparing it to family films that I grew up with is an interesting experience. It seems like PG-13 is the new G rating because it seems to be the default rating. When I was a kid, every movie got a G unless it had something in it. Now every movie seems to automatically be rated PG-13. And this is considerably less violent than, except for one small scene where there's some blood on a wall. This is considerably less violent than any of the Disney movies produced in the 1990s that had a G rating. There's a couple instances of bad language that seem to be added in by the localizers, which, yeah, Crunchyroll localizers strike again on this film. But other than that, this is a perfect example of the type of content that used to be released by Disney under a G or sometimes PG rating in the 90s. Yet it's PG-13. It has the same rating as Avengers Endgame, a movie where the hero cuts off the head of an enemy who they had just taken prisoner and who was no threat to them. Which, I'm sorry, but that feels like it should be an R-rated moment if ever there was one. To me, it's one thing if you show in a movie that it's one thing if you show in a movie that is designed to attract kids with, tie-in action figure sales and such. The villain doing something like that, but when it's one of the heroes, to me that crosses the line. But yes, this is the first movie in a long time that I can recommend you take the whole family to. Just ignore what the MPAA says. I don't know where their rating comes from. And there are only two instances where the localizers butchered it, and that is one where they changed the line "Hasta la vista, baby" to the much more offensive and nonsensical "I'll see you in hell, baby." And then there's an instance where they turned the word wife into life partner. Yeah, I see what you did there, you Crunchyroll localizers. There's a reason why Japanese studios are racing to use AI to replace you so they don't even have to go to the crummy Western companies to localize their stuff. But the other thing I want to get out of the way right away is that you do not need to have seen the show SpyXFamily in order to enjoy this movie. Every single thing you need to know is handled in the movie. And yes, as I said, this is the first movie in years I can recommend as that the whole family can go to, and there's something in it for all of them. It's made in that way that movies in the 80s and into the early 90s were made, where there's stuff in it that will keep kids watching. It'll keep the kids entertained, but it also has enough depth to give the adults something to shrink onto, and like the whole franchise it's based on, it has a very pro-family message, and I'm shocked that a woke company like Crunchyroll even wants anything to do with this franchise, given that it is promoting a traditional family unit. It's saying that kids need a mother and a father, and the mother needs to be a woman and the father needs to be a man. I'm shocked Crunchyroll would allow that. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, just that I'm shocked Crunchyroll is even localizing this one. But I guess it's just too much money in the bank. But for the uninitiated, Spy Family takes place in a country that's a stand-in for East Germany, with a spy from a country that's a stand-in for West Germany. And it's sort of in that sort of floating nebulous time, like The Incredibles. That's the closest I could compare it to its setting to, in that everything is the mid 1960s, with everything that implies, with a Cold War going in the background, and both and everyone involved trying to prevent a Cold War from going hot. Lloyd Forger is a spy trying to go close to a target at a school. His best chance of getting close to his elusive target is if he has a daughter who gets a special academic award at the school that his target's son goes to. So he adopts a girl from an orphanage who turns out to have been experimented on and has psychic powers. He then needs a wife, so he so he so he so he recruits a local woman who ostensibly works at it who works at City Hall, but in fact, Yor has been working as an assassin for her government since she was a young lady. But however, since she was a girl, to keep her to protect her brother. However, unmarried women in their late 20s are considered suspicious by the secret police, and then they get a dog who can see the future. So they have a dog who can see the future, Anya, who is psychic, and you have a spy who doesn't know that his quote-unquote wife is an assassin, and a wife who doesn't know that her quote-unquote husband is a spy. But you then throw in a series of wacky adventures, and in this movie in particular, Anya eats a chocolate that contains a valuable secret, so she's getting chased all over the place, all while they're trying to keep their cover and actually learn how to be a family. And most stories, including this one, end with the story asserting the value of family. And that's where this show took me by surprise. Last year I discovered this show, and and by extension this film, and I've really been surprised by that this just exists in the modern era, and that it really is the most wholesome anime I've ever seen. In fact, it may be the least anime I've ever seen. That's why I'm going to recommend it to everyone, not just anime fans, because it has... Now, don't get me wrong, it's not a classic Disney feel, but it does have the feel of the experimental Disney of the late 90s, early 2000s. Think of something like the aforementioned Incredibles, Lilo and Stitch, or The Emperor's New Groove. If you want something similar in tone. And it doesn't have any of those anime tropes where people's heads suddenly get really big and they're just yelling for no reason. So if you're sensitive to that, if that gives you some sort of reaction. I know people who have negative neurological reactions to that element of anime. You don't have to worry. This is just this is just a this is just a family-friendly adventure film that really doesn't deserve its PG-13 rating. I don't understand why this isn't a PG. As I said, back in the day, if this had been made back in the 80s, it probably would have been a G. But nowadays, I mean, for instance, even the main villain doesn't die in this movie, so he just gets knocked out in the end. So yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those types. So yeah, if you're looking for an adventure movie, but with a sort of sweetness to it and a real heart, and that just is one of the best takes on its genre I've ever seen. Go see this. You won't regret it. Your family is going to really enjoy it. And it's the first movie in probably a decade that I really feel like deserves to be seen by the whole family. If it's in your theater after this past week, if it's still in your theater after this past week, go see it. This isn't just one for the fans. This is one for everyone. This is the type of movie Disney used to make 20, 25 years ago. This is what they were experimenting with at the end of their animation studio, and it kind of makes me sad that we can't get this sort of thing out of Disney anymore. But at least there's somebody who gets it and understands that you can still have excitement in all of this and still make a movie that is suitable pretty much for all ages. As long as the parents are there to explain some things to their kids. But yeah, my only gripe is a couple of things the localizers did, and that one scene I probably would have cut where there's some blood on the wall, but that only lasts a split second. So yeah, if you're looking for an outing for your family at the local movie theater, this is the one to go to. So just enjoy and have fun.